It was supposed to be a normal field trip. The sun was shining bright that Thursday morning, and the small kindergarten class of Maplewood Elementary was excited. The children were giggling, holding hands, and wearing matching yellow caps with their school logo. Their teacher, Miss Elena, was a kind young woman who always planned fun and safe activities. She had been preparing for this trip for weeks. They were heading to Pine Lake Nature Reserve, just an hour away from their school, to learn about trees, birds, and fish. The children had their backpacks packed with lunch, notebooks, and little plastic magnifying glasses to explore the forest trails. The school van that morning was driven by Mr. Carl, a friendly man in his late 50s who had driven the school bus for years without any trouble. Parents waved goodbye to their children, not knowing it would be the last time they'd see them for a long time. The van pulled away from the school at 9:15 a.m. sharp and was expected to return by 3:30 in the afternoon. But it never came back. At first, no one worried. Sometimes field trips ran late. Maybe they were just stuck in traffic, or the kids were still eating. But by 5 p.m., the school called the police. Parents gathered at the school, their faces full of worry. Phones kept ringing, but there were no answers from Miss Elena or Mr. Carl. A search was launched that evening. Police cars, search dogs, and even helicopters scoured the roads between the school and the nature reserve. They found nothing. The next day, people from the town joined the search. They searched every road, every trail, every part of the woods near Pine Lake. But there was no sign of the van, no sign of the children, no broken glass, no tire marks. It was as if the van had vanished into thin air. News spread fast, and soon reporters came from all over the country. People couldn't believe it. A van full of kids and 2 adults just disappeared? That didn't happen. Not in real life. Days passed, then weeks. The parents could not sleep. They left their porch lights on every night. They checked their phones every hour. Some even camped near Pine Lake, hoping for a miracle. The town changed. Laughter faded. The school left the classroom untouched, their coats still hanging, their drawings still on the wall. No one wanted to believe the children were gone forever. And then, 8 weeks later, something happened. 8 weeks after the children disappeared, the town had almost given up hope. Police had stopped the full search, though a few officers still checked tips that came in. Most people believed the van had crashed into a hidden part of the forest or sunk into a deep part of the lake where no one could find it. But then, on a quiet Sunday morning, something strange happened. An old fisherman named Joe was out on the far side of Pine Lake. He lived alone in a small cabin near the water. Joe was known for being quiet and a little odd, but kind. He had been fishing on that lake every day for over 40 years. That morning, the sky was cloudy and the wind was cold. He rowed his small boat to a part of the lake where trees hung low and the water was dark. It was deeper there, and not many people went that far out. As Joe dropped his fishing line, something pulled hard, too hard for a fish. He tugged and struggled, thinking he had caught a log or something heavy. After a few minutes, he saw something rise up from the water. It was not a log. It was the back of a van. His hands shook as he called the police. When they arrived, divers went into the water. Slowly, carefully, they pulled the van out. The entire town watched from the shore as the rusty, moss-covered vehicle was lifted. It was the missing school van. The yellow caps still hung on the seat backs. Lunch boxes floated in the water, and inside there was no one. Not a single child. Not Miss Elena. Not Mr. Carl. The van was empty. People gasped. Parents screamed. Some cried, some fainted. Where were the children? How could the van be at the bottom of the lake with no one in it? Police searched the lake again. Divers went down over and over, looking for any sign of the children. They found nothing. Not even a shoe. Not a toy. not a piece of clothing. The van had been locked from the inside, but somehow everyone was gone. When the van was examined, something even stranger was found. The fuel tank was still almost full. The tires were in good condition. There were no marks showing a crash or skidding. It was like someone had placed the van gently into the lake. But who? And why? That night, Joe the fisherman sat on his porch, staring at the lake. He said he heard something, soft voices, like laughter, children's laughter, coming from the trees near the water. No one believed him. They said he was just old and tired. But Joe knew what he heard, and he wasn't the only one. Over the next few days, more people around Pine Lake said they heard strange things. Whispers in the wind, shadows moving at night, lights flashing deep in the woods. Something was not right. The town was scared, but they also had questions. What happened to the children? Why was the van empty? And most of all, were the kids still out there? After the van was pulled from the lake, people in Maplewood didn't know what to believe anymore. Everyone had a theory. Some thought it was a terrible crime. Others believed the van was never in the lake at all until someone placed it there recently. But few people, especially the older ones in town, whispered about things they had only heard in stories. Things about the lake, about the forest, about disappearances from long ago that were never explained. The police tried to keep the town calm. They said they would reopen the investigation with new energy, now that they had the van. But most of their leads still went nowhere. The only real clues were the strange sounds and sightings around Pine Lake. The school hired a private investigator, a woman named Lila Maris, to look into what the police might have missed. She had worked on cases involving missing persons before and had a reputation for never giving up. Lila spent her days at the lake. She walked the woods, took photos, and spoke to people who had lived in Maplewood their whole lives. She even spoke to Joe the fisherman. He told her exactly where he pulled the van from, and how the lake had never acted right in that spot. Fish don't swim there, he said. Birds don't fly over it. And sometimes you see your own reflection move even when you don't. At first, Lila thought Joe was just being dramatic, but the more time she spent near that spot, the more she noticed odd things too. Her phone battery would drain fast. Her watch would stop working. Once, her compass spun in circles. One evening, just as the sun was setting, she saw something out of the corner of her eye. Small shapes running between trees. Children? She ran after them, calling out. But when she reached the spot, there was nothing. Just the sound of rustling leaves. Then, something strange happened to Lila herself. One night, while reviewing her notes in her cabin near the woods, she heard knocking. Soft, slow, careful knocking at her door. When she opened it, no one was there. But sitting on the ground was a drawing. A child's drawing. It was a picture of trees, the lake, and a group of kids holding hands, smiling. Their yellow caps were easy to recognize. In the corner, in red crayon, was written, "We are okay. Don't be afraid." She brought the drawing to the parents. Many of them cried. Some recognized their children's handwriting or drawing style, but it only raised more questions. If the children were okay, where were they? Who gave them the drawing? How did it get to Lila? The next few nights, more drawings appeared. On windows, porches, even inside locked cars. Always showing the same thing. Kids near the lake, smiling, sometimes with animals, sometimes with strange glowing trees or symbols, but always the same message. We are okay. Lila began to believe something unbelievable. The children weren't gone. They hadn't drowned. They hadn't been taken. They had gone somewhere else. Maybe not far, but somewhere just hidden from the world people knew. The lake had secrets, and the children were inside them. Lila didn't sleep much after the drawings started showing up. She kept her windows open at night, hoping to hear or see something more. The drawings kept coming. Some showed new places, dark caves glowing with soft green light, a tall tree with a door in its trunk, and what looked like tunnels under the lake. One picture made her heart stop. It showed Miss Elena standing next to the children, smiling, holding hands with them. That meant she was with them, wherever they were. She shared everything with the police, but they didn't know what to do. No laws could help when the answers didn't make sense. Scientists were called in to study the lake. They tested the water and used radar to scan the ground beneath it. They found strange shapes under the lake bed, like tunnels or rooms, but couldn't explain how they got there. No one had ever built anything like that around Pine Lake. One night, Lila sat by the water with a flashlight, flipping through the drawings again. She thought about everything she'd seen. The broken compass, the laughter in the wind, the van under the water without a single body inside. And suddenly, something clicked. Maybe the children hadn't disappeared at all. Maybe they had been invited. Maybe Pine Lake wasn't just a lake. Maybe it was a door. That night, she did something no one else had tried. She stepped into the water. At first, nothing happened. The water was cold and quiet. But then, she felt a soft pull, like something gently tugging at her legs. It wasn't strong or scary. It felt like someone was guiding her. She walked in deeper. The world around her changed. The sound of the wind faded. The stars above shimmered and bent like they were made of liquid. And then she was gone. For 2 whole days, no one saw her. Her phone, left in her cabin, kept buzzing with missed calls. The town panicked again. They thought maybe the lake had taken her too. But on the 3rd morning, a group of hikers found her sitting on a log at the edge of the woods, dry, clean, and smiling. She wouldn't talk much at first, but when she finally did, her voice was soft and calm. "They're happy," she said. "They're safe, and they're not alone." People asked where she went. She just said, "It's a place that doesn't follow our rules, a place that wants to be forgotten. But the kids are not prisoners. They chose to stay. It's their home now." No one could believe it, but she wasn't lying. Her eyes looked different, older, wiser, like she had seen things that couldn't be explained. She gave the parents one last message. They know you miss them. They love you, and they're watching, but they can't come back, at least not yet. Years passed, and the story became legend. People stopped visiting Pine Lake. Nature slowly took over. But sometimes, on still nights, when the moon reflects just right on the water, people say they see them, little shadows running along the edge of the trees, laughing and playing. The kindergarten class of Maplewood was never found. But maybe, just maybe, they were never truly lost.